how to set up a cutting station, how to sharpen a knife, and how to carry a knife in the kitchen. So the first thing that I need to tell you is what you need for a cutting station. So anytime that I tell you to set up a cutting station, what you see here is what you should have for a cutting station. So I have a cutting board, and this cutting board has grips on it so it won't move around. If you do not have a cutting board that has grips, because we do have some cutting boards here that don't have grips, you see how this one moves around really, really easily, okay? So what you need to do is you need to get a wet cloth, put that down, and then put your cutting board right on top of it. And that way, this won't move anymore. So it's a lot safer that way whenever you have the wet cloth down underneath there. Okay, but we do have one that has grips on it, so we're going to use that. So you have your cutting board. You have a scrap bucket. Always have a scrap bucket or bowl on hand with whatever you're doing in this kitchen, because the thing is that then you can just stick all your scraps in there, and then whenever you're done, you can take it over to a garbage can and throw it away. All right. You have a clean cloth here, clean dry cloth. And then on top of the clean dry cloth, you have your paring knife, you have your chef knife, you have a steel, and you have a peeler. Okay? So that is your cutting station. Anytime I tell you to set up a cutting station, that's what you should be setting up right there. Okay? Now, anytime that you get out a knife kit, what you're going to do is you're going to sharpen your knives. Do not use this knife and assume that it's sharp. Always sharpen the knife, because a sharp knife is a safe knife. And what I mean by that is that if I'm sitting here cutting something and this knife is sharp, then I don't have to put as much pressure down on the knife while I'm cutting. All right, so if I get a finger in the way, which sometimes you do, I usually get this thumb in the way because you're supposed to tuck your thumb in, but it always sort of comes out every once in a while whenever I'm really getting into cutting things, and I'll nick that thumb sometimes. If I nick it and I'm not putting a lot of pressure on it, then I'm not going to cut my thumb that badly. But if I'm really cutting down with this knife, if I get a finger in the way, I'm really going to cut it badly. So we always want to have a sharp knife whenever we're starting out cutting things. All right. The other thing about a sharp knife is that you're getting all of those dulled burrs off the knife. This blade will have like burrs on it from getting dull. And what you're in a sense doing is you're not really cutting cleanly anything, you're actually starting to tear food, or whenever you get your finger in the way, you're going to tear your skin, and that's going to hurt badly, and it's going to cut it a lot worse. So just keep that in mind and make sure that you sharpen your knives before you use them. So what I'm going to use to sharpen the knives is my sharpening stone. And before I sharpen anything on this stone, I'm going to put a little bit of oil down so that the knife glides nice and smoothly on that surface, okay? So what I'm doing is I want to sharpen these edges of the knife, not the top, not the very top of this knife, okay? Not right here. You want to sharpen right on the edges, okay? And that way the knife gets sharp. You're actually taking off a little bit of the metal anytime that you're sharpening a blade. And what I want to do is I want to go from the heel all the way to the toe of the knife to sharpen this, all right? So I'm going to start on one side, and whatever side I start on, then I'm going to finish on the opposite side so that we know that we have sharpened it the same amount of times on both sides. Okay, so I start with this side and a shallow angle. I'm sort of making an X on my stone to sharpen this knife. And as you can see, I'm putting a little bit of pressure on, making contact with that stone. Okay, if I just go like this and not really do much with it, then you're not going to sharpen that blade. It's going to take a little bit of pressure to make sure that you have a sharper blade. Okay, and you can tell whenever a knife is sharp, just by, running your finger a little bit over that edge. You can tell that it's sharp. Now the other thing that you have here is a little bit of the metal that came off. All right. Okay. So now that I have my blade sharpened, what I want to do is I want to use my steel and I want to hone my knife. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this over here to show you. I'm going to bury the steel right here, and I'm going to point the knife up a little bit toward the ceiling. And again, you want to get those edges. You don't want to get the blade itself where you're going to be cutting. And from heel to toe again. And we're going to start on one side and end on the other. There's another way of doing this. If, I've seen students do this and it's perfectly fine. If you want, you can turn your knife instead, as long as you are honing both sides of that blade. Me, I prefer this way, but some students get confused about that. All right, so that's how you hone your knife, right there. All right, now that I have the knife sharpened and honed, again, do that, and there's still a little bit of black on there, all right? And so what I want to do is I want to take this knife over and wash, rinse, and sanitize the knife. This is a personal item, what we consider a personal item in the kitchen. And what that means is that whoever uses this knife is the one who cleans it. I don't ever want to see the knives just stuck over there at the dishwasher or stuck over there at the pot sink. If you use it, you're cleaning it, because if this gets put on a board somewhere or put in the soapy water of the pot sink and somebody goes to reach into the pot sink, then they might get cut if they don't know that that knife is there. You can't really see it in soapy water. You can leave it in the sanitation water, but you are the one that's going to go and get the knife. And please don't ever put these through the dishwasher, because it dulls the blades of the knife out. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to carry this knife over to the pot sink to wash it. I don't want to carry this knife like this. That's a good way of getting somebody stabbed. The way you carry a knife in the kitchen is you have this glued right to your side, have the blade facing down and toward your back. And what you're going to do is you're going to let people know where you are and what you have. Anytime you have anything in the kitchen and you're carrying it around here, you should let people know about that. So I'm going to announce myself. I'm going to tell people, knife, knife, I have a knife. If I'm behind somebody, I'm going to say, behind you, I have a knife. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Knife, knife, knife. And now my knife is sharpened. So I am ready to start cutting now that I have my whole station assembled and my knife sharpened. So the next video is going to show you how to do some knife cuts.